Hi, everyone. My name is Misty Gardner, and this is my case study about the budget debacle. When we look at the overall case study, and it's at an elementary school, and they're working on their main fundraiser for the year that helps to support their supplemental curriculum subjects such as art, music, and foreign language. And those programs are fully funded by this parent foundation putting on a fundraiser to have the money for those programs. Um, and at their fundraiser, the foundation president, who is new to town, is arrested and booked for a misdemeanor and put on probation for his part that he is playing in the raffle for cash project. As the school principal, now I have to figure out how we're going to fund those supplemental curriculum classes, along with figuring out how to get our school back on good terms with the community after a big situation like this happens. And I myself also have to um, take responsibility for the part that I played in this situation, even coming to the point where we had somebody arrested at the fundraiser. So we need the supplemental curriculum to help our students in our building, in our K-5 building, because those programs, art, music, and foreign language, are programs that meet the needs of some kids who might not be academically strong in math and science and reading and social studies, but their gift is in art and music. And we want to make sure that we have those programs available to those students to help them in that being at school and having something to look forward to. So I feel like it's very essential. We have to find the funding for this as we move on. The students and the teachers of their school are going to suffer if funds cannot be raised to finance the supplementary curriculum subjects. The school image has also been tarnished from having the sheriff pick up their foundation president on the night of the fundraiser. Some questions that I had was, did the foundation have their own 501c form to be tax exempt, or were they trying to do a raffle without one, and that's why the president was arrested? Also, did the foundation use the building as a community center, or were they doing it as the school building? That's another question that it raises for me. If it was at the school, then was this gambling raffle taking place at the school? There's lots of things to consider and things that should have been checked on before this type of fundraiser was allowed to happen. The elementary school funds, again, my statement that kind of sums it all up is Bardell Elementary School funds their supplemental curriculum by money raised from the parent foundation at this year's fundraiser. Things did not go as planned and the funds were not raised. By the funds not being raised, it will affect the students and the teachers of that school for this next year. Some things that are known is that I'm the principal of 600 students in grades K-5. There's a very veteran staff in my building. The elementary building is also used as the town's community center. And I, as the principal there, am very embarrassed by what happened. And need to own up to my part in the situation. Mr. Barley, who was the foundation president, is new to town and wants to get some more innovative curriculum programs going, along with the programs that we already have. So he was chosen as the foundation president for the year, even though he was new to town. His goal was to raise more money than had been raised before, and he had ideas that he brought with him from when he was in college, when they did a big fundraiser and were able to raise a lot of money there. Parents of the school are very supportive in helping raise the funds for the programs. Some of the unknowns. I feel like there's a lot of unknowns in this case study. Does Mr. Barley have prior gambling charges or a prior record of crime? Did we really do anything to background check that? It doesn't really tell us what we did. What other qualifications made us think that he would be a good foundation president? What did we really know about him since he's new in town? He came in enthusiastic and excited, which is a great thing, but there's a lot of unknowns, I feel like, that the case study doesn't share with us. Did the board know what was being planned? Did did we have any communication with the board on the fundraisers? Does the board require everyone to take their fundraisers to them to talk about it? Where there's 6 elementary schools in one district, I feel like there's a lot of unknowns in that situation on how their policies and procedures fall into line with all of that. What about the superintendent? Where was the superintendent's role in this fundraiser that was happening? What are the other members of the foundation like? What's the rest of the board like? Were they involved with this? Making sure everything was in line with the laws and regulations, also of the state and federal regulations that you have to follow as a nonprofit. How many teachers teach classes that are affected by not having the funding for these classes? If we don't have the money from the fundraiser, how many teachers is this going to affect? How many students that take the classes is this going to affect? And it never really tells us what Mr. Barley was charged with. It just says his role. So I feel like we need some more information on exactly why he was charged and what was happening there. And it says that this curriculum is fully funded by the money that the foundation raises. My question is, does that include teacher salary? It doesn't really tell us, but to me, when it says fully funded, that means that it is teacher salary, supplies, everything that goes into having that curriculum in that school is going to be funded by that. Place. The known is that it's a K-5 building with 600 students. It has it's located in the middle of town and is also used as their community center. It is one of 6 elementary schools. There's 2 middle schools and 1 high school, which means you're going to have a big high school. And their high school is good at football. The school that is in this case study has a lot of veteran teachers with not very much turnover, which to me tells me that, they're good at working together. There's good rapport there, which is a great thing to have. The unknowns, I feel like, again, with the place is how many teachers are at each grade level, how many teachers, again, are the supplementary curriculum teachers, what is the average teacher salary in the district, and what are the school's policies and procedures. Never anywhere in this case study does it really give us a good list of the policies and procedures that they're to follow. Program. The known curriculum is focused on the basic skills. Their educational instruction objectives are based on student performance at each elementary school. They are able to offer art, music, and foreign language with money raised by the foundation. Mr. Barley wanted to add to that list of programs. Unknown. What specific programs did Mr. Barley think needed to be added? How many students take the offered supplementary curriculum classes? What is the exact formula used for funding? They say there's a formula, but it doesn't tell us what that formula is. What happened to the money that was collected in the raffle tickets? It never really tells us. Does all that money have to go back to each person that bought the ticket? How does that work? Did the police take it? Where did this money go? Is there any chance of the school getting any of that money? I feel like that's all really important information for us to have to know what's going to happen next. Another question I had is, what time of year is this? Is this happening at the end of the year, preparing for the next school year? Is it at the beginning of the year? Kind of what is the time frame on having this money and being ready for everything to be in place for that next school year? And then some legal things, is the foundation tax exempt? Do they have that 501c form that they have to have? What other laws do need to be checked on before doing a cash raffle like they were doing? And again, what policies does the board have in place for fundraising? By offering the supplementary curriculum to students, it allows the school to meet needs of more students. Anytime you have those extracurricular activities or classes or curriculums that are offered, you're going to meet more needs of students. Every student is different. Every student has their own strengths. Every student has their own interests. And the more that a school can offer, the more needs we're going to meet of the students. We have to find what motivates students, what wants to get them there. And by having more options for students, we're going to meet more needs of those students. If the money is not raised for this extracurriculum at the school, not only are the students going to suffer, but those teachers that teach it, if there's not money to pay them, they're going to suffer and their families are going to suffer also. The school's image and my credibility as a principal there in this situation has been compromised. And because of that, we have to find a way to rebuild that. We want people to have faith in us, faith in our school, and support us. So we have to find a way to build that bridge back with our community and back with our parents and even our students. As a principal, I'm going to need to work on building those bridges back, but the first step is going to be working with the superintendent and the board to figure out what are we going to do? How are we going to get this funding? And how are we going to make it work so we have everything in place for those students and teachers when it's time to start school and we have everything to meet their needs. As a principal, the first thing I said, is meeting with the superintendent and with the board. We got to get a plan started. We got to figure out what our role is in the situation and get it fixed with our community and our parents, and start looking into, can we do another fundraiser? Is there time for another fundraiser? Is the community going to support another fundraiser after they'd already given money? And now is it all gone? Did they get it back? What's going to happen there? The next thing is going to be checking in that whatever we do decide to do follows the laws and policies that are in our state and can go ahead and be allowed to raise that money for our curriculum. Next, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that fundraising. What is our idea going to be for that? Is the foundation going to take it on again and do it? Or is the school going to have to figure out how to come up with that money? Are we going to have to write grants? Are we going to have to look at cuts? Can we go through our budget ourselves, find some places that we could cut for a year to make up that difference? Can we go to the board and ask, are there any extra district funds that could then be passed on to our school into our school budget for that? Is there extra funds at one of the other schools that just for 1 year could come to our school and be a part of our budget to make those things happen for the kids in our district? The pros of funding the supplementary curriculum: students' needs will be met if the classes are offered, teachers will have those jobs, and the school will continue like it has been, meeting all the needs of their students. The cons of it, it's going to be hard to find those funds now. We're in a real pickle to figure out how to find that money and how to get it to work. The community is probably frustrated with what happened and may be unwilling to offer any more money to us. What are we going to do to build that bridge back? The other schools could be upset if the district decides to pull some from them to help us for this 1 year. They could be upset with us because maybe they're going to have to make a few cuts too. But we are all one district. So that district, the district fund could help us out, but it's going to upset others depending on where that money has come from. I want to find a way to get the funding for the programs as that's our main goal. We've got to get the funding to help meet the needs of those kids and those teachers. I want to meet with the other principals of the grade schools and see if just talk to them, tell them our situation, and just see if there's any way we can all work together to help our school at this time of need. There may be another time down the road that one of the other schools is in need, and then we can find a way to help them with our budget also. I want to have a plan in place for this to never happen again. We've got to have better policies, procedures, a better plan when we're working with the foundation who's not a part of the school to figure out how we can make sure things like this don't happen again. The foundation should not be tied to the school. They should be their own entity, and they should be working on themselves to be tax exempt and taking care of all that. But maybe as a school, we need to require that they show us those documents so we know that they're doing the things they need to do. So then when they donate their money to us and our board accepts their money, we know everything's been done right. My decision to start with meeting with the board and superintendent and other principals to see what can be done to fix this situation. I also want to make sure that I have open communication with all the stakeholders that are involved and keep everyone informed on what is going on at all times. I feel like that is a key thing. You have to have that open communication with all your stakeholders. You've got to talk to them about what's going on. You have to let them know what's going on. If you try to hide or you don't tell them everything, you're opening a whole different can of worms, and people are going to be upset upset that you weren't open with them and letting them know what's going on. So keep that open communication with everybody involved in the situation. I also feel like I, as a principal, need to work with the foundation on a process so we can figure out how to rebuild them too, because their image is going to be hurt too. It's going to, the school, myself as principal, the foundation, all those things have taken a hit, and we've got to rebuild our bridges so that we can get back together working for the needs of our students and our teachers and our school district. Here's the plan that I've kind of been talking about. Again, meet with the superintendent, the board, the other principals, see if we can come up together with a plan. Meet with the foundation, see what we can do to fix those things within the foundation. And I need to communication with staff, parents, all stakeholders in this situation. Definitely need to be communicating with those teachers and figure out what our plan is going to be if we don't find funding. But I hope that is not our option at all. I want to work as hard as I can to find that option, whether it's maybe some grant money, fundraising, cuts. I want to find something to make this work for our district so that no one has to suffer from the consequences of it. When looking at the standards, this assignment allowed me to look at the case study and evaluate the situation and determine a plan of action to help get the funding to provide the classes to meet the students' needs in my school. I was able to create my own plan of action and set up steps that I feel are important to have in place when doing fundraising and working with an outside group that helps our schools. With school funding the way it is, we are going to have to get creative in our resources and be able to provide what is best for our students and staff. We are dependent on our parent groups to help in supplying the funding for extra activities that students love and enjoy. And using outside resources to help with funding of different activities as building leaders, we have to make sure policies and procedures are followed so laws are not broken and we are able to acquire our funding in the right way and use it accordingly. Anytime, policies and procedures are very important for your district to have and to make sure that everybody is aware of those. Excuse me. And make sure that we're following those so you don't run into situations like this. But with school funding the way it is, our parent groups are essential and we need their help. We need their help to help make our schools successful. Thank you.